Well, good afternoon, everyone. I have noon, which means Noon Knowledge Wednesday. My name is Sandy Ratliff. I am with Locust, formerly known as Virginia Community Capital, and welcome to our first Noon Knowledge session of 2014. It's hard to believe, but if this is your first time or your 100th time joining us, welcome, and so glad that you can join us. As you know, this is a series of professional development.
It's 2024, not 2014.
We started in 2014. That's it. We did, though. I got that part right. But
You did.
This is a professional development workshop series to help support businesses in Washington County, and now it's kind of grown to be a statewide program to help not only start your business but help you to grow and develop skills. Even an old person like me, I'm always anxious to learn new things because it helps me in my business. This is a collaborative program with the Washington County Chamber of Commerce, the Virginia Highlands Small Business Incubator in the town of Abington. And as Kathy noted, we've been doing this since 2014 as a way to support the Washington County Business Challenge, which we start next week. It's hard to believe our 11th year of doing the Washington County Business Challenge next Tuesday. I'm happy with the group of folks that have applied to that. Just a little housekeeping. Today's session is being recorded for education and training purposes. And to keep the webinar flowing, we do have everyone muted. However, this is a workshop and hopefully you can learn from it. So if you have a question for our presenter, please post those in the Q&A section and we will address those both during and especially afterwards because we want you to get the most out of this. And then after the program today, I will share our presenter's slide deck, but also send you the recorded video recording so that you can use it to review back. But hopefully you're going to share with someone else that could find value in this. I'm excited to have our presenter today, Gary McGeough. If you don't know Gary, Gary's with the Bristol Chamber of Commerce's gosh, what's it called, Gary? I just went blank.
Well, just the business assistance.
Yes, he does a lot of counseling, and I've probably known Gary close to 20 years. And I know he is somebody that's very passionate about helping folks not only launch new businesses, but help you to grow along the way. And he brings many years of experience in both owning and operating businesses, but also working in other industry sectors and nonprofits. So Gary will share more about his experience, but I know he brings a wealth of knowledge and education and experience to our program. So Gary, thank you so much for leading our first session in 2024, and I will turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Sandy and Kathy. Good to see you again. Wishing everybody a happy and prosperous new year. We're going to start out here just going through some slides. Like we indicated earlier, if you've got any questions, please bring them forward. We'll be happy to answer them. Here are some of the SBDCs in the Southwest Virginia area. For those of you who are getting started, there is a ton of assistance available for you via the Chamber of Commerce, via the Small Business Development Center, via the schools and other businesses. There's a lot of assistance available for you. So please, if nothing else, reach out if you've got questions. I can help in referrals. Kathy Lowe can help. Sandy Ratliff can help. The Chamber of Commerce can help. So just be aware that there's an awful lot of help and there's no reason, and it's all free. So just be aware of that. So we're going to welcome you here today. We're going to talk about what a business plan is. We're going to talk about the elements of a business plan and some strategies. And we're going to talk about the all-important financial statements and controls. You are about to enter into an information overload. Your business plan can sometimes feel overwhelming. But that little note, there's how do we eat the elephant? We do it one bite at a time. And that's how we do our business plan. It seems like it's overwhelming, but you should be able to get through it. Everybody can. It just takes time, patience, and research. Um, there's business plan textbooks. There's 1,000 of them in the libraries. They basically all say the same thing. The common denominator for a business plan is what we're going to talk about. It's basically like chapters of a book. There's a million different textbooks. They all say the same thing. They just say it in different fashion. So just be aware of that. All right, let's just to give you some background. The business that I owned for 10 years was called Roommaker Wall Beds. It was in California. And what we did was we put the units like you see here, we put those in people's houses because their yards were small. They're restricted in what they could do to their house. And if you needed more space, you had to clean out one of the bedrooms to use it. This way, you still had a bedroom and you still had an office or an entertainment center or whatever else you wanted to do. Down the lower section, I was on a front row, brick and mortar. I was on the front row of a business park as opposed to a strip mall or a plaza. There's plenty of plazas around, but being on the front of a business park allowed me to save substantially on my lease costs because it was a business park rather than a shopping center. So just a hint, and also just to give you a background of where I'm coming from. That business was after 10 years in offshore oil exploration and 10 years in aerospace. Okay, so what are the rewards? We all know financial security, assuming we're successful. Independence, meaning you can do what you want and follow your own dreams. And there's an enormous sense of satisfaction when you're successful with your own business. Even if you're marginally successful, there's a lot of satisfaction. And then we also delineate: are we creating a business or are we creating a job? Little did I know when I started my business, I thought I was starting a business, but it really was a job for myself. There's a fine line between the two, but you just got to be aware of that. Okay, so we don't want to send you away, and we don't want you to get concerned about things. But statistics are statistics, and they come from various places. A Small Business Administration has a bunch of statistics, and they vary slightly, but they all pretty much say the same thing. We're talking about 79% of small businesses survive the first year, or don't survive. That means, they do survive. That means 21% fail. That's a pretty good percentage. More than 50% of the business fail in 5 years and 70% in 10 years. So you need to understand that you're taking a risk here. And so the things we talk about today need to be taken seriously, and the research has to be done in depth because you're putting some finances and could be your future on hold. And then I just heard last week from the National Taxpayers Union at the national desk. One of the financial guys was reporting that in 2023 has seen a 30% increase in small business bankruptcies. So with interest rates, with supply chain issues, it's very important that you do your homework and follow through on this business plan. Some of the basic tools to success are self-sufficiency. If you don't do it, you have to pay to have it done. And we're going to be talking about a lot of that stuff. We're talking about social media. We're talking about web pages. We're talking about brochures and flyers. Who's going to design that for you? Who's going to print it for you? How are you going to distribute it all? It's important, unless you have a lot of finances, it's important that you become very versatile. In today's environment, web pages and Facebook and all these other things are not that difficult to do, but they take up a lot of time, which is the next item, which is the organization, both your personal organizing and your materials organizing. If you got to look around for stuff, you're gonna be wasting time. You got supposedly 40 hours in a week. It'll probably turn into 60 hours in a week, but you got to keep yourself organized. And we'll talk about the organization a little bit later. Next item is you got to have a desire. Um, Owning your own business, the more successful you become, it's a drain, and you got to stay focused. So you have the strong desire and the will to make this thing happen. There's family issues, there's children issues, there's all kinds of things that come up, but you're going to have to focus on your business. You're going to have to be able to accept that there's problems and you're going to have to solve them. Almost every phone call that you get, somebody's asking you a question or want you to solve one of their problems. So you got to be versatile, and you got to be able to do that. You also need to have a support system. You need to have people like Sandy and the Chamber of Commerce and the Small Business Development Center and your lawyer and your insurance guy, your accountant. All those people are part of your company, and you should make it an effort to keep those people close to you, because they all have expertise in certain areas, and you're going to need it all. You're going to need to have an accounting system so you can provide some analysis. I'm going to show you a spreadsheet in a little while that anybody who's been in business, who's been in corporations, has done annual budgets. You know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't had that experience, this is a very critical, very important document that's going to help you or guide you through your business, your startup and your business. It's good to have a pretty diverse background, pretty diverse knowledge of things, and above all, you got to be flexible. Nothing goes the way it's supposed to go, and so you're just going to have to be flexible with all that. All right, why do businesses fail? Let's go through the bad news first. All right, the owner inexperience in the specific line of business. Typically, when I sit down with somebody who wants to start a business, a lawn service or a mechanic, we don't talk about how to change the spark plugs, or we don't talk about cutting lawns. You guys already know that stuff. That's why you're starting a business. The difficult part of it is the behind the scenes business, the marketing and getting the word out and getting your invoices out and collecting your invoices and having an accounting system and having the wherewithal to do your own brochures or update your own web page. Those are the kinds of things that you folks need to understand, that it's not the technology that you're going to implement, it's the administration. I don't know how true it is, but when you go to the dentist, for example, the dentist is back there working on teeth all day long. It's the front desk that makes the appointments and collects the money. So the dentist is as much a technician as anybody else. It's the administrative people that bring in the money and to help you manage things. So just keep that in mind. That what we're talking about is not your knowledge of your specific expertise, but it's how to make it all work. All right. The owner's or manager's inability to make decisions. We talked about that. Solve problems, manage tasks, managing your day-to-day effort. You've heard people say, sit down and decide what's the most important thing and prioritize things. You're going to have to do that every day when you're in business. Phone's ringing, people are doing things, and you're going to have to be able to find out which things can slide and which things have to be done now. The other thing is that you've got to have a commitment. You got to have the endurance, dedication. You got to have the desire. It's difficult work owning your own business, and you got to have the foundation there, or it's not going to work. We're going to talk a little bit here about we're talking about self-sufficiency, And this is a list of the kinds of things that you as a business owner is gonna, you're gonna have to know how to do. Leadership. If you've got employees, employees are a whole nother issue. If you talk to anybody who's in a small business, getting employees that are willing to show up at 8 o'clock and do a day's work are not easy to find. But you're going to be doing planning, you're going to be negotiating. When you're in business, one of the things you're going to find out is everything is negotiable. Everything. So don't be afraid to say, hey, wait a minute, how can we make this work for both of us? Decision making, if you procrastinate, problems are going to get bigger. Now, as we go through this list, I also want to point out to those of you who are in the nonprofit environment, excuse me, I do a board training workshop for nonprofits. And this is only a part of a list that I have that the requirements that nonprofits need. And when the next slide would be, if I was doing a board training, is where does an organization get all these skills? The next slide is the picture of the guy with the hats on. That's the executive director. And boards of directors don't understand that. That the executive director has all these different responsibilities, and they either have to do them or make sure they get done. And for you guys that are in the nonprofit environment, a lot of this stuff is going to be beneficial to you, but there's much, much more. The nonprofit world is deep, and in order to be successful, you need to understand all that. I notice on the roster that there's a couple of people here that while we're talking about all these various tasks or areas of responsibility, I notice there's a couple of people from that. One person says, "I want to learn how to be efficient and effective at running a business." Other than the experience of doing it, having an accounting system that can give you direction, having a web page that can get you promotion, and figuring out social media, those kinds of things are pretty important, and they all take time, and we're going to discuss that later. Another one of the people speaking about all these different tasks, one person has something here talks about infant care and perhaps starting a business with that. There's licensing, and there's actually requirements that the government or state require in terms of licenses and education and those kinds of things that may be important to you. And for this other nonprofit here who's interested in starting a new department, I'll just relay a quick thing. It's not a nonprofit thing, but it's one of the guys who worked for a pretty large corporation here in Bristol years ago. They've moved on to the corporation has moved out of town, but he had a idea for reusable pallets, shipping pallets. And so he went to the boss and said, "Hey, I got an idea here that we can save ourselves a lot of money by utilizing a different type of pallet." And the reason I bring it up is because what the guy told him was, "Give me a business plan on it. Tell me how we're going to implement it, how much it's going to cost us up front, what kind of material we're talking about, how are we going to retrieve those pallets once we send them out, how much money can we make, how much is it going to cost us, over what period of time is this going to work?" Those are all very, very good questions. So if you're talking about adding a new department or expanding to another area, this business plan process is the way for you to do that. So anyway, we'll move on, but here's some more reasons why businesses fail. Inexperience. We just did that, didn't we? Yeah. I'm going the wrong way. Sorry. Okay. So we're going to talk about what is a business plan and why do you need it. And just a little note that you can talk and talk to everybody. You can be as excited as you want to be about your business. I know I was. I was very excited, and I could talk for hours about my business. But no one is going to be as passionate about your business as you are. So just understand that, and you'll don't be disappointed when people aren't as receptive as you think they ought to be. All right. The business plan basically is about thoroughness and about research. And uh, one of the things, I don't know if I have a slide in here or not, but one of the things when I'm discussing a business startup with a company or somebody who wants to expand into another product line or something, one of the things that I suggest to almost everybody, including nonprofits, frankly, um, go visit somebody who's doing the same thing you are. Look them up on the internet, see what they're doing. If you have to go to Asheville or you have to go to Knoxville or Roanoke, that's part of your process. Just like writing a business plan and thinking about who you're going to hire and what kind of is this going to be a sole proprietor or an LLC. A part of that research is go visit someone else. And the reason is those people are in business, and if they're as happy in their business as I was, you can ask them, what's successful? What products do you use? Where did you get those racks to hang your clothes? What kind of lighting is that? Who are your suppliers? What kind of deal is there? 90 days or is it 30-day payback when you buy this stuff? Is there a minimum purchase, a minimum number of products, or minimum dollar value? All those kinds of things. Where's the best place? You've been doing this 10 years. Where's the best place for me to advertise? What works best for you? So I don't have to waste my money doing something that's not going to produce results. So um, just remember that and it's the quickest way, the most thorough way that you can find out what to do right and what to do wrong when you're starting your business. And as long as you're not going to be competition for somebody, in the local area, uh, you can find out a lot of information. And even if you have to call across country or across a state line and say, "Hey, I'm over here in Bristol. Can you give me some pointers here?" A lot of people will help you. So just keep that in mind. That's the quickest and most thorough way to find out how to set up your business. Uh, so the business plan is going to help you with the feasibility of this. And part of that feasibility is going to be a pro forma or an estimated profit and loss. And we'll go through that in a minute. The business plan also works as an operations plan. It helps you figure out what has to be done and when, and who has to do it. It's also a way for you to obtain capital and to sustain your business. And it doesn't matter if banks, we've got some bankers here with us, but banks don't loan money to companies, they loan money to people. And so when you're pitching something to someone and you're saying, this is what I really want to do, you got to have your facts. The person you're talking to wants to know that you've done your homework and you understand what you're doing. If there's any indication, and even if it's your uncle or your aunt or your grandmother, if there's any indication that you don't have a firm grip on what you're talking about, the chances of you getting money are going to be difficult. And it's also provides a basis for a guide to find out how successful you are and what kind of an outcome you're looking at. And a little note here for the nonprofits: don't start or expand it unless you have to. There's a whole discussion about fundraising and where you're going to get the money and who your competition is. And I can spend a lot of time with the nonprofit folks. I can set this up separately, however you want to do it, but there's an awful lot of background that you need to understand before you take the plunge. That's all I'm saying, and we'll move on. Okay. the nonprofit business plan is to help you determine the feasibility. And this also is for nonprofits, nonprofit expansions. Um, so it's universal, but it's a way to think through. The business plan helps you think through the details. What we're going to be going through here later are 1,000 questions, and if you look in any business plan textbook and you page through the different issues that they talk about, it's going to be, how do you do this? Where do you get that? They're all questions. And so they all require a response or an answer. And so this business plan is the universal format that helps you gather all that data. Is this business going to be feasible? In terms of develop a needs assessment. In nonprofits, who knows better what your needs are going to be than you? And so a needs assessment is critical. It needs to happen every so often, and it's something you take to your board of directors in terms of do I need a truck? Do I need tools? What does my business need so I can begin to focus on that? Also prepare a SWOT. What are you good at, and what are you not good at? Okay, if you're starting a lawn service, you may be good at cutting grass, but you may not be good at marketing. Let's put on paper what your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats are. And again, this applies directly to nonprofits, directly. Develop your capital requirements. What's it going to take? When I talked about the man doing the proposal for the pallets, the question is from his boss is how much are we going to have to pony up for this? When you're developing your business plan, you say you're going to need so much money for equipment. What equipment? Why do you need that equipment? Why can't you buy something used instead of new? How many trucks do you need? Why do you need all those things? That's what your capital requirements are going to talk about. That's your business plan. You got to think through, why do I need all this stuff? Do I buy a building or can I rent a building? Those are the kind of decision things that if you're buying, it's going to you're going to require more money, and B, if your business fails, you're stuck with the building. All right. Also consider collaborating with people. When you're for the nonprofits, for example, if somebody's already doing something, you have a little different twist on it. Maybe you can collaborate with them and help them, and they can help you. And same thing with businesses. You'd be surprised how many, after you're in business and you start developing a relationship with other companies that you either provide services for or you get services from, you'd be surprised how many collaborations are available after you get started. But the flip side of that is we don't want to have too many kings in the castle. And that's what some of the problems that develop are. I'd just rather do it on my own because then I don't have to answer to somebody or I don't have to get into arguments about all this. Okay, your business plan is also your strategic plan. When you're doing either a business expansion or actually your business plan to start with, you're going into business, you need to have a committee. You need to have certain people. Remember, we talked about the other people on your team, your insurance people and your accounting guy and your lawyer and whoever else you're going to need. You need to put a team together to help you develop this business plan so you cover all the bases. And then the business plan can also become an operations plan in implementing the things that you're talking about. And always remember that after you get things rolling, you need to measure how you're doing. You need to get out your budget, get out your estimated profit and loss, and see how you're doing against that, budget versus actual. The business plan, let me get this, there we go. Yeah, the business plan is a written description of how you operate your business, who's going to do what, especially in the case of partnerships. If you're going into business with someone else, we'll talk about this again later too, But who's going to do what? How is he going to operate, and who's going to manage what different department or different task? Who's going to do the purchasing? Who's going to do the accounting? Okay, how it addresses the market, the strengths and weaknesses of your business, and I just can't tell you how important it is to understand the strength and weaknesses of your competition. You remember early my slide that I was selling wall beds or Murphy beds. I can't tell you how many sales I made because I could delineate the difference between what I was selling, which was the Cadillac, and what they were selling, which was the Volkswagen. It's You have to know when people say, "Well, how are you different from Joe?" And if you can't tell them, then there's no difference between the two of you. So it's important that you understand your strengths and weaknesses and their strengths and weaknesses. In some cases, they may be better than you. In some cases, you're better than them. And what resources are you going to need? And what financial performance is going to be expected? The business plan also defines or it can define what type of business you're going to be in. The sole proprietor, corporation, LLC, there's a whole bunch of different ways of doing that. That is not something that you have to decide on right away. Your accountant can help you with that. The easiest way to start out is a sole proprietor, and then you can change whenever you want to do it. I'm not the expert on that. Your accounting guy can help you. Your attorney can help you. Probably your accountant is probably going to provide you with the most detail. But that's not something you have to worry about right up front. A partnership, however, is something you have to worry about up front. And a corporation also. But I'm going to assume for now that we're not talking about somebody starting a large corporation here. Some of the people here may be working for a large corporation now, but in a partnership agreement, all I can tell you is statistics, no matter where you get them from, are going to tell you that partnerships are like marriages. There's a divorce all the time. And the way you protect yourself, both in marriage and in a partnership agreement, is having an understanding up front. You do a prenuptial. The partnership agreement decides who is going to do what. You don't want the engineering guy coming down to accounting and saying, here's what I want you to do accounting wise. And you don't want the accountant going to engineering and saying, you need to change this design. That's not how it works. So in a partnership, of course, the smaller the partnership, you may have one or two people or three. You got the partnership agreement delineates who is going to be responsible for what. Now, you can always discuss things, you can always have disagreements, but somebody has to make sure that all the jobs that have to be done are being done. And we'll get to an organization chart in a little while, but it's important. And also, if partnerships fail regularly, and they fail for some good reasons, and they fail for some bad reasons. So it's, good reason is, okay, I made my $1 million, I'm going to Florida, whether you want me to or not. The bad thing is we failed, and now who's responsible for the failure? And how are we going to split up the assets, whatever those are? We each put in $500 to start the business, and now the business is worth $1 million. I'm not going to say, well, here's your $500 back. That's not going to fly. So you got to have an understanding, and that is called a partnership agreement, and it's critical. All right. Let's see what this thing says. All right. 70% of the nonprofits fail over time. Okay. And any successful business partnership should be based on the complementary strengths, talents, and personalities and experiences of the partners. A relative or a friend is fine, but somebody's got to bring a certain expertise to the party. Okay. Otherwise, You just can't be friends. Just because he's your buddy doesn't mean he's got the equal commitment that you have. You may have a lack of success because of that. You have differing values. You have personality clashes. You have a failure of trust. Trust is a big deal. That's just happens to be a buzzword for the nonprofit environment too. Uh, Executive director and board of directors requires a certain level of trust. And if you don't have that level of trust, then you've got problems within your organization. But let's get back to the partnership. Um, just like in a marriage, your needs change, your desires change, your priorities change. In the business, you have to keep those things up front, and so it's important. You can develop an exit strategy, which is part of your partnership agreement. You develop partnership agreement and operational guidelines as to how you're going to operate and who's responsible for what. Okay. What your business plan should include is a brief resume for you and your key people. And that brings forth what your qualifications are, the relevance of your experience, other qualifications you might have that aren't specific to the function of the business. You may be a good accountant, even though your business is going to be doing something else. Your organization structure, you should have job descriptions. If you're going to hire people, you need to figure out what kind of people you're going to hire. And then once you get started, you're going to have to hand a job description and say, this is what you're going to be doing. And you should get some corporate support. Now, in my case, when I started my wall bed company, I had been in corporations my entire career. And, most of us in corporations think, well, we understand all this stuff. But when you're talking about a small business, everything changes. Now, when I did my business plan, there were certain areas of my area of expertise that had big holes in it. But fortunately, I was a distributor for the manufacturer of the wall bed mechanisms, and they also did cabinetry. And I started out with them with their cabinetry and their mechanisms. So when I had to develop my business plan and show it to somebody, I was able to fill that void with the support that I got from the manufacturer. So just keep that in mind. There may be some holes in your background or your experience that could determine whether or not you get your financing or how good you're going to be at something. Whenever I had a question about how things worked or shipping or any of that stuff, I could just call the corporation. They were back in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they provide all the assistance that I needed. So it's important that you keep all that and understanding what qualifies you to do this. All right, now I'm just going to go through this really quick here because we're going to spend some time on it later. This is the estimated profit and loss I was talking about. This is where your revenue comes in. You list all the possible things you're going to sell, and this is the expenses. This is something I've had this for years, and it's just something that I provide everybody that I'm dealing with, so you don't have to design your own spreadsheet. It's already designed for you. You can change all this, you can change all this, and whenever you enter a number in here, it'll add it all up and kick it out here in the corner, which would be what your total net earnings would be. People start businesses for different reasons. Some of them are part-time, some are full-time, some you got to feed your family, and some it's just for spending money. But when you sit down and you detail all the things you're going to sell, let's just take an example of a sandwich shop. If I know, this is the easy part. You may not get it all, but you've got experience in how much some of this stuff costs, or you can call and estimate things. You can get referrals from what are my utilities going to be and what's my insurance going to be and all that, how much my car payment's going to be. You can figure this out. So when you come to your total expenses, and of course you can't see the bottom of this page here, but when you come to the total of your expenses, you say, okay, now if I'm selling my sandwiches at $6.50 a piece, or I'm selling my combination at $7.50 a piece, how many of those do I need to sell each month, or each day, each week, each month, to come up with my number to see what is my income going to be, and is my income going to be bigger than my expenses? Okay. And you'd be surprised if you do this, if you detail this out, you'll be surprised at how accurate it won't. It's not going to be right because you don't have all the answers yet, but you'll be surprised how close you can get in the ballpark to find out, is this business even feasible? And are people really going to buy that many sandwiches from me in order to make this number work? So it's this document here is the one that's going to tell you, can you make this work? You can't really fill out the detailed information with any accuracy until you do the business plan, because the business plan makes you think through the details and the specifics so that you can arrive at what things do I even need here? What things am I even going to sell here? So doing the business plan makes you dig into the details. Once you get it, you can start laying it on here, and you can find out whether this business is going to make any money or not. And again, it's not going to be accurate, but it's going to be pretty close. You'll be surprised. And depending upon why you're starting this business, when you fill out this profit and loss, when you get that finished, down in the corner is going to be the end result of what you make at the end of the year. And the question becomes, is that satisfactory for me? If I'm doing this part-time, then yeah, anything that's a positive is fine. But if you're doing it to feed your family and you're expecting to make, 50 grand a year and you're only making 30, then you got to say, wait a second. Is there something I can do to my sales, or is there something I can do to my expenses that's going to give me the number I want here? And if I can't get there, if selling, 500 sandwiches a day isn't realistic, then maybe I need to get a different idea. Maybe I need to have a different business that I want to start. So this document here is the way for you to determine, is this worth it for me? Should I just go back to McDonald's and flip hamburgers? Because if I got to have employees and insurance and trucks and the maintenance guy, and I got to have all this stuff going on, and I'm not going to make the money, then I'm providing everybody else jobs, but not me. And so it's critical. This document here is critical. And there's all kinds of help that can help you with that document. Okay. The business plan also describes who your customers are going to be. And also what they can expect from you. I don't know, some of the folks that we have on the roster here, I don't know if you've got any experience with calling a contractor or a plumber or whatever, a lawn service, and they say, I'll be over at 5:00, and they never show up. That's not the best sales approach. And so if you can't service the person, say, I'm just tied up this week, I can't get it done this week, I'll either have to pass or we can schedule later. But all people want from your business, any business, all they want is what you said you're going to provide. They don't want anything more. They just want what you said you're going to do. So if you aren't in a position, or you're not the type of person that's going to follow through and give them what they want, then you're not going to be successful. And there's so many companies that are doing that very thing that are not successful because they're shortchanging their people, their customers. And there's also another dilemma. You'll find that with certain products, like this is one of the dilemmas I found out when I started my business. Never even occurred to me. When somebody spends $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 to convert their bedroom to an office and flip the bed up and have all that nice cabinetry and get it all set up, once they spend that for their bedroom, I'm not going to see them again. So I don't get any repeat business. So everybody I sell to is a new customer. Now, that's not 100% sure, because some folks came back to me for their second house or their second bedroom or whatever. But typically 98% of it says once you make the sale, you're not going to see those customers again. So if that's the type of business that you're planning to start, just be aware of that. It's not like office supply where somebody's going to come in and get quad pads or they're going to get paper clips every month. It's a little different setup than that. So you just got to be aware, and you got to be, which just tells you that you got to spend more money on marketing than maybe somebody else would have to do. Okay, so what do your customers expect? Where are they located? This is the same discussion that you have with nonprofits. Who is the person that's going to come that I'm going to help, and where are they located, and what service am I going to provide them? Okay, and how am I going to reach them? How am I going to tell them we're here? Now this, where are they, and this, how I intend to reach them. You can save a lot of time. You can save a lot of money by going to another company, like I mentioned before, going to another company and asking what works for you. Does newspaper, does radio, is Facebook, what is it that works best for you? Because that's what I want to do. And you can spend a lot of money on brochures. You can spend a lot of money on radio or TV. And if you don't know whether it's working or not, I don't know how much they do it now anymore, but when you walk into a store and somebody says, "Well, how did you hear about us?" They don't much care how you heard about them. They just want to know where you heard it, so we know that our advertising is working. And so when they say, "How did you hear about us?" They probably have a sheet in the back room where they put a check mark behind a newspaper or word of mouth or internet or whatever those are. That's telling them how what is successful and what's not successful. Who and where is your competition, and how do they operate? Do they operate the same way you do? Do they operate differently? Now, in my case, we operated differently. I did everything. All my cabinets were custom built. My competition, they were all out of the back room that they built certain standard sizes, and so it was a whole different setup. And so you need to know how the competition works. That's a big part of your marketing. Your business plan is a written statement of objectives, strategies, and your business environment. It's a means to communicate to your partners. Okay, we talked about a partnership agreement, to your employees, so they know what to expect and what the product is, to your investors, so they know what you're doing, to the bank. And it's also a guide for measuring your performance. I showed you that spreadsheet earlier. That would be the budget. If you had another column next to each one of those, you could say, these are our actuals. So you can compare what I thought I was going to spend versus what I did spend. And so you can begin to measure how you're doing according to your basic plan. And a guide to managing your business, the tasks, the responsibilities, the employees, those kinds of things. All right. It's also about your customers. We said your target group, their size, location, needs, the best means to reach them, about your competition, about your operating environment. Now, this is where I do I stop you and I say, look, let's not reinvent the wheel here. This is my discussion about go see another company that's doing the same thing or something similar. Discuss where they get the products, who their sales guy is, which one once you find, if you're going to be a brick and mortar, you're going to start selling goods, and you have to go to a sales agent for your region or from the factory or however they set it up, they ought to be able to tell you what their top 10 or top 20 items are. So if those top 10 items, those are the ones you want to have on your shelf. You don't want to have the ones that are the top 40 and it sits on your shelf for months or years. So you've invested the cost of that thing sitting on your shelf and you're not getting any return on it. So establishing who your sales rep is and what products sell and which ones don't sell. And you also find out how your what your payment requirements are. In my case, I had $20,000 worth of cabinetry in my showroom, and they wanted payment in 30 days. Well, the ability for me to sell $20,000 worth of product in 30 days was not the best approach. So we had to negotiate because that wasn't going to happen. So these are the things that you can stop. You can say, let me go talk to somebody, and they will help me with all the answers that I need. And it may take driving to Knoxville or Nashville or wherever. Okay, this is your typical chapters of your business plan book, if you will. I like to explain these as chapters. Each one of these addresses a different item. Your executive summary is that's your first item. You normally do it last, and you do it last because you got to gather all your data and your information and your research to be able to write basically a 2 or 3 page sales document to convince the banker, or in my case, my wife. And also, let me just since I brought that up, so I spent weeks, if not months, developing the business plan. And I talked to my wife. I said, "This is what I want to do. I want to get this wall bed thing going, and this is how it's going to work." And so I thought it through, and I spent a lot of time on it. And so then I started writing my business plan. And as I developed a business plan, things began to change. And not because I needed them to change, only because when you get down to the details, things don't happen quite the way you thought they would happen. So when I gave my business plan to my wife, and I said, "Remember all the things we talked about?" And then she said, "Yes." I said, "I want you to read this." And so she sat down, she read it 2 or 3 times, and she came back to me and she said, "This ain't what we discussed." And she was right. Things had changed. The concept had changed, and the method of doing things had changed because I had gotten into the details and I had worked out the situation, and things were different than when we initially talked about them. And that is what the business plan helps you do, helps you sort it all out. The idea of the business plan is to make you qualified. When you turn the key in the front door of your business for your first day of business, the business plan is the route to get you to where you're qualified to turn the key and say, "Okay, I'm in business now." So just keep that in mind. That's what this is all about. And if you shortcut the business plan, you're only hurting yourself. It takes, and that's what I said earlier. There's a lot of stuff here you're looking at, and we're going to go through this. There's a lot of stuff here, but you eat the elephant one bite at a time. Okay, so just don't. There's a lot of work here. This is an information overload. Okay. All right. We said the executive summary is 2 or 3 pages, and it's the sales document to get the reader's attention. Okay. And it's normally done last. The business description, the name of the business, what type of business. So now all these things we're talking about here got question marks after them, every one of them. Okay. And so the discussion is, if you don't know the answers to these questions, who's supposed to know? It's your business. After all, you're the one doing this. So if as you're developing this business description, something comes up and you don't have the answer for it, you got to go find out. None of this stuff is difficult. It's just there's a lot of it. Okay. All right. So what type of business is this? What's the reason for starting it? A lot of books will say, well, what void are you filling? When you start this business, what are you providing that no one else is providing? Okay. Or what are you providing differently? You can drive through the city, you can drive through almost anywhere, and there's 20 gas stations, and they all do the same thing. But some of them do things differently. And so just be aware that why are you starting? What solution are you going to provide for whatever you're doing? What business are you in, and what does it stand for? By that, I mean integrity, efficiency, on time. When I had my business, you remember the picture of the wall bed and the custom cabinetry. Are you going to have this ready for me for Christmas? Because my whole family's coming over, and if I don't have it for Christmas, I'm in deep yogurt. So just be advised that you are what you stand for, and I mean, you make a promise, you got to keep it, because word gets around. Unhappy customers talk to other people who could be customers. So just keep that in mind. What industry are you in and what are the trends? We talked about supply chain issues earlier. We talked about, a 30% increase in 2023 of business failures. If you talked about high interest rates, this may not be the best time, depending upon your product or how you're going to finance everything. You may want to rethink some things based on what's going on, especially if you're in an environment where there's a lot of regulations. Those begin to cost money. What need do you fill in the community? What problem do you solve? What are your key success factors? What do you when you start performing? What do you think the success factors are going to be for your business? And this business plan also provides you with your goals and objectives and your milestones. You can begin to say at the end of the 6 months, I'm going to be selling 40 sandwiches a day. At the end of a year, I'm going to be selling 80 sandwiches a day. So, how are you going to gauge all that? Whether or not you're making money. Are you going to be losing money the first 3 months, then break even the next 3 months, and then make a profit the next 3 months, and from then on? That's what your spreadsheet can show you. And it's okay to lose money the first couple of months as long as you got the financing in place. It's okay to do that because a lot of businesses start that way. You got to get your name out there. So that spreadsheet is going to be the ticket to figuring all that out. What are your products and services? What product do you sell? Your vendors, and where do you get your product from? And I can tell you, I don't know if I have a bullet point here, but I can tell you for a small business, pricing is going to be your most difficult thing, unless you're doing a manufacturer's suggested retail price where it's a sort of an equal for everybody. But you want to get the most you can get for the most bang for your buck that you can get, but you don't want to overcharge either. And you want to make sure you're making a profit. I can't tell you how many interior designers and people I worked with. My business was in California, and everybody wanted me to can you throw another 15% in there for me? And I said, no, I can't. This is how much it cost me to build this. Now, if you want to add 15% on top of it for your customer, go for it. But it is what it is. I have to sell it for this amount of money, or I'm not going to be in business. So your pricing schedule is going to be much more difficult than you think it's going to be. So what kind of vendors and suppliers and where you get your product? Is there a minimum order or minimum quantity? Payment terms, we talked about that. Whoops. That service. What service do you deliver? Is it I just deliver TVs, or I'll install them for you too at no extra cost? What is your service and what makes you different? The other guys just drop it off at the front door. We bring it in and set it up. So there's a difference. And your pricing strategy, I just mentioned that that's one of the most difficult things, determining your pricing, and also how much you pay your employees. With the recent minimum wage increases, I don't keep track of that stuff, but Virginia and Tennessee probably have some wage increases, and that puts the hurt on small businesses more than anybody else. And also regulations put the hurt on small business. Small business gets hurt by everything that anybody does, because you're so close. You're where the rubber meets the road. And they keep talking about the United States runs on small businesses, and it does, but they take a lot of abuse because of it. Now, here's another. I'm going through some of this stuff pretty quickly because I know we're in a hurry here, but this is critical. If you're a business owner, if you're let's say you're a lawn service or a house painter or whatever you're going to do, you got an owner, you got to do the accounting, you got to purchase stuff, you got to sell stuff, and you got your day-to-day operations. Well, if you're a one-man show, one-man company, you need to realize that this are all jobs. Somebody has to do those. And if you don't have any employees, then you have to budget part of your time to accomplish these things. somebody has to send the invoices and find out if you're getting paid for it or not. You just can't cut the lawn, put it in the mailbox, and expect it to be automatically delivered. You got to follow up on that stuff. Someone has to do that. Now, you can pay somebody to do it. Remember, we talked about being self-sufficient. You can pay somebody to do that, but you can do it yourself. The same thing with purchasing. If somebody's gonna buy something for you, you're gonna have to tell them what you want them to buy anyway. So you might as well buy it yourself. Now, the same thing goes with web pages. If somebody who's going to do your web page for you, they're going to ask you, well, what do you want the web page to look like? And you're going to have to tell them, well, what do you want the web page to say? Well, what kind of text do you want in there? You're going to have to give them the text. Well, what kind of pictures do you think we ought to put in there? Well, you're going to have to do that. Well, if you got to provide all that stuff to the web page guy, why not do it yourself? And then you don't have to pay anybody. But that is another job, and the owner has to be aware that these are real jobs, and someone has to do them. And if you don't, you're not going to be successful. I could say a lot more on that operation thing, but we're running short of time. Okay, who's your management team? Who are your key people? You should have a board of advisors. You don't necessarily need a board of directors if you're a for-profit, but you need some advisors around you. We said your insurance guy, your accounting guy, your lawyer, and maybe some other folks that you may want to meet with every once in a while and say, "Here's what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think?" And get their advice. You don't necessarily have to follow it, but you ought to get it at least. And what qualifies you to do this? What kind of work experience, administrative experience? What are the personnel needs for the business? Legal structure of the business, insurance risk, accounting systems. Anybody who is starting a business and is not doing their accounting electronically via QuickBooks or whatever else the systems are out there, if you're not doing this electronically, then you are asking for monumental problems. And this helps you with your accounting, with your invoicing, with your collections, with your taxes. It helps you with so much paperwork by just, and oh, by the way, we talked about self-sufficiency. If you don't know how to do this, you need to learn. It's not hard. You need to learn. Just like the web page, social media, unless you're going to pay somebody to do all this, you need to learn. And there's help. There's help provided out there for everybody that you can figure this out. You can learn how to do this stuff basically at no cost. Your marketing, let's see, which are your target markets will you serve? Who are the business competition? What is your product? How does your product differ? Excuse me, talking a lot here. How do you create word of mouth buzz? The best advertising is word of mouth, and you got to figure out a way to make that happen. Either networking with people, chamber of commerce people, going to different kinds of networking meetings. What media will you use to advertise? Now, every business plan, and I also give Sandy some help with the Washington County Business Challenge every year, and the easy solution for someone submitting a business plan is, oh yeah, I'm going to use Facebook. I'm going to use social media is going to be, that's how we're going to do this. We're going to make this a success, and they never do. So I ask any one of you that's listening here, how many advertisements do you see on Facebook and any of the social media that you see? Everybody who starts a business says, I'm going to use social media, but yet you never see it on social media. If you're gonna tell yourself or your employees or your bank, I'm going to use social media, have a social media plan, because otherwise they're not going to believe you. And again, I go back to, if you're on Facebook or whatever you're on, how many advertisements do you see? You just don't see them because people aren't. They say they're going to do it and they don't. And if you're going to advertise, this is part of your marketing program. Somebody's got to do it. Okay, what types of publicity are you going to use? And again, you can get this stuff from other companies that are doing the same kind of thing. Do you need a sales force? What sales promotions do you use? what customer experience we deliver, and what can your customer expect from you? Um, and what are the pros and cons of any location? If you're doing brick and mortar, you're going to have a place. You better have option A, option B, and option C. I did that when I had my business because some businesses, some locations simply don't want you there. They say, I don't want to deal with this. In my case, I had options A, B, and C. Well, it turns out that being in the industrial park as opposed to a plaza, and Lord, that cut my lease expense monthly by $1,500 a month, and I was still on a major thoroughfare. It wasn't as busy as some of the streets, but it was still pretty busy. So you need to make sure, and also your leasehold agreement. Who's going to do the improvements? If the guy says, "Yeah, I'll let you improve it, but I'm not paying for it," that means you got to borrow more money. Or if he says, "No, I like it the way it is," you either make it like it is, or you're going to have to go somewhere else. So you need to have some options. We talked about your competition. We talked about knowing what they're doing. I can't tell you how many sales I made because I knew exactly how the competition worked, and I was different. And I was going to be way more expensive, probably 2 or 3 times more expensive, but they knew that going in. Um, you could always do a competition analysis. I'm not sure why I threw that in there, but your location, I told you, do you need to be downtown? You need to be on Volunteer Parkway, or can you be back a block or two off of the main street? Make sure you have an option B or C. If you're concerned about traffic flow, the city or the county, you see those little rubber hoses going across the street every once in a while. Those are counting cars, and so those folks can tell you what the traffic volume is going up and down certain streets. Do you want to lease it or you want to buy it? What is your term of duration? Uh, we're back to this. I can't express to you enough how helpful this is going to be. And if you're going to spend all your time and your money and make a future out of this, you have to do a good job doing this because it'll tell you how much you're going to make. It's critical. And um, if anybody starts to develop this thing and you want to bounce it off of somebody, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to bounce it off of me. Um, I do a lot of this stuff, and I tell it like it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Sometimes you get business plans. You say, well, you spend all this time doing this, and it doesn't say anything. I mean, we see it all the time. Your strategies, do your SWOT analysis, competitive advantage. How do you capitalize on that? Uh, Measure, analyze, and control your stuff. Um, Objectives, achievable and ambitious. What are your objectives? Measure what you're doing. You can lay out that spreadsheet and you can monitor that. And then the keys to success, the biggest one, the more you can do yourself, the cheaper it's going to be for you. Best location, keep your costs low, your deliveries, your uniqueness, providing something nobody else provides. Employees, good luck with your employees. Don't know what to tell you about that. Uh, uh, Negotiating favorable partnerships with other companies, with other people, with other products, and your visibility. Those are the key things. But self-sufficiency is going to be the answer. And just quickly, the SBA has some very good information here. If you go to the SBA government business / business guide, this is what the page is going to look like. And you can see it right here. It's plan your business. This is some pretty good information. Also, here are some your contacts for getting assistance. Chamber of Commerce, town of Abingdon. Small business development centers are everywhere, and they're very helpful. And the people I've been exposed. I don't deal so much with them anymore, but I did years ago, and they're go-to guys. If you got an issue, they're free, and they're go-to guys. Um, Incubator, Kathy Lowell will help you up there. Sandy Ratliff. Your banking institutions will help you. the SBA. I showed you that slide. And universities and colleges will help you. So with that, I'm a few minutes late, but when I said information overload, I wasn't kidding, was I?
Hey, Gary, you've done a great job once again. And Sandy suggested maybe you share with our audience the top 3 or 4 mistakes that you've seen small businesses make that negatively impact their operation. That maybe you can just say. I mean, you had it in some of these slides, some of the things that are downfalls. So, what do you think the top 3 or 4 are?
Are you referring that to me?
Yes.
Well, yeah, accounting system. If you are going to get in business, I wouldn't even attempt it unless you had an accounting system. And if you don't know how to do that, there's QuickBooks classes, and there's the YWCA, and there's Virginia Highlands Community College, and there's assistance everywhere. So and in fact, you can download it, and it sets it up for you automatically. So there's some simple versions, and there's some more complicated versions. So accounting is one thing. Self-sufficiency is another. When I started my business, the internet was just getting started. This was, 30 or 40 years ago, and the internet was just getting started. But I had to do. I was advertising in the paper, in the local newspaper, and I was in the L.A. Times, and I was in the Orange County Register, which are huge papers. And I would have a sales advertising rep come by every week or so and say, hey, okay, when are you going to run your next ad? And I would tell them, and if they didn't get the ad in on time, then they didn't get their commission, but I didn't get any business. And so that's when I decided, you know what, I'm not going to send the description and have us go back and forth 100 times with the artwork. I'm going to figure out how to do the artwork myself. And so when they come in, I'm just going to hand it to them and say, that's what I want, put it in the paper, and then there's no delays. So being self-sufficient on doing some of your brochures, and there's tons of that help on the internet. You can go on the internet and get an example of almost anything you want. You can use Canva. You can buy your own programs. There's all kinds of, and by the way, some of the new knowledge classes that are coming up, like this one in the next few months, are going to be invaluable to the small businesses. You're going to learn stuff that you need to know that you didn't even know you needed it. Sandy has set up some great lunch and learn things, and so I highly recommend it. And again, we were talking about accounting. You can go back in the new knowledge workshops, and she's got videos posted on YouTube that'll teach you how to do this. It's already there. You just got to go back and find it and sit there for an hour and watch it, and it's going to teach you how to do this stuff. So there's a lot of help around. There's a lot of examples and demonstrations. And so the business plan is not something that you need to hurry through. You need to plan it and get it done and spend the time doing it. This is not a 1 hour a day thing, especially if you're going to be in the Washington County Challenge. The sooner you get started, the better your program's going to be. And again, anybody who's listening to this thing, if you need any, and the nonprofits as well, if you got some questions about something, I can, if I can't answer it, I can get you to somebody who can.
Well, thanks, Gary. I don't see any other questions. I know there was a couple comments about where you can get a list of mentors and so forth. And just a reminder, I am sharing Gary's slide deck a little later, as well as a link to the video once I get it uploaded to YouTube. And Gary mentioned too that we do have probably well over 200 workshops that we have posted on our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com/ and type in new knowledge, and you'll find all of those. And we've done a series talking about accounting on QuickBooks, talking about marketing. We've done a number of workshops on Canva and other use of new social media platforms. And as Gary said, that we do have a good upcoming list of workshops that I think can be valuable to you, and I will attach those in the follow-up today. But Kathy, you see any other questions?
I see no other questions, and I think Gary is, as usual, always thorough and gives people exactly what they need to know. Gary's got his name and his phone number up on the slide right now. So, folks, I encourage you to contact Gary. He's been doing this for a lot of years and knows exactly what he's talking about. I always am happy to hear Gary's insight, and I thank you, Gary, for all you do for us.
Yeah, Gary, I just want to say thanks too. We couldn't do this whole program if it wasn't for folks like yourself sharing your professional and education and also experience where you've got your hands smacked and butts whooped a couple of times in running a business. That's a lot better than that book information. But thank you again. And I just want to put a plug in for our next session on January the 24th, kind of following along with starting a business is on January the 24th, Rusty Little, he's the director of finance with Wellspring Foundation, but Rusty's been in business and finance for a good number of years, and he's going to share about how the different types of business entities, that be sole proprietor, LLC, S Corp, and all of those, what they are and what the tax advantages and disadvantages to each of those. And that's very critical, especially even if you're already in business. You might learn something that it might be better off to go ahead and change the structure of your business to kind of help. So hope you can join us. And as I mentioned earlier, today's session has been recorded and will be available up on our Virginia Highlands Small Business Incubators Facebook page. But I will also archive it up on our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com/new knowledge, and I will post that link once I get it uploaded. Thanks again to everybody for coming today and being part of this, and I hope to see you. We've got sessions already on the books and planned through the June of this year. So, opportunities there, and you can't beat the price. So take care and stay warm. Look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, Gary.
Okay, thank you.